Good afternoon, good evening, and also a very good morning to all the fans of the National Arena League. And welcome to another edition of Inside the Walls podcast. I do apologize that there were episodes on Wednesday and Thursday this week as I was recovering, or am still kind of recovering from a cold slash upper respiratory virus. It kicked my behind. And I do apologize because last week was an incredible week of the National Arena League. Some big returns, an epic game in Columbus. It was a game in Jacksonville that no one thought was going to happen. It's incredible action in the National Arena League. And also, we're previewing week 13 of the National Arena League. We have teams that are the precipice of clinching, and we have teams that are just percentage points away of their seasons ending. And of course, this week on Turf Talk, I will be joined by none other than multiple-time Ironman Player of the Week, Darius, Prince of the Albany Empire, and to talk to him about the season, what's going on with the Albany Empire, where their plans, how they're preparing for the postseason run, and also we'll look back at his past careers, of course, in the Arena League, and also on other positions like Philadelphia Soul. Yeah, it will be interesting. I may not be as good as Zach in interviews, but I'll give you the best I can for some intel into the National Arena League. So after this short break, we get into the rewind from week 12 of the National Arena League. This is so hard doing it by, so I don't know how Zach does this. We'll be back after this, ladies and gentlemen. This is Inside the Walls podcast.
Covering all your favorite parts of the 50-yard fight. This is the Inside the Walls podcast with Zach Kyleman and Jim Mernier.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here to the Inside the Walls podcast. Of course, you know me. I'm Jim Mernier, a.k.a. the Glorious One. Yes. Zach's not by around me to calm me down, but okay. Let's get into some news and topics at the National Arena League happened in Week 12. First off, I have been sent messages. I've been in constant communication with the people that are in charge of things about certain rumors out there about expansion teams, players. See, one thing I want to say about, I guarantee a lot of you guys know what expansion is and how expansion works. In the arena game, no matter if it's the NAL or the other leagues or the old AFL, expansion happens all the time. That is the narrative. But for people to make statements and for people to come out and say, "Oh, I know this, I know this, I know this, I know this, and here are the facts. Here's the, I have evidence, and there's a document signed of not going to happen." Those are type of the expansion rumors that are technically just more of attention grabbers than actual rumors themselves. Like I've said, what Zach said multiple times. If expansion rumors are happening, we'll be the first ones that, hey, this is going on, this is going on, this is going on, because we have connections with the National Arena League. Every single organization, this team has connections. I have cell phone numbers of a lot of people in the league. So if I want to go dig into some rumors about some expansion organizations, I can just call two people and get all the lowdown. But again, for the people who reached out, people from Albany, people from San Antonio, say, hey, I heard this. Is this real? What's you're hearing? What's your source? Right now, your guess is as good as mine. Rumors are rumors, and I'm not going to report on rumors. I'm not going to be a person that's going to say, hey, this is the facts. This is what's going on. You know what? Dang it. We're the first one to report, so you better give us credit. We're not going to be that type of person. We're going to give you the information that we know. And when we do give you the information, it's the legit information from the actual sources and related to the situation. But one of the things that popped up this past week was players. And rumors speculated in the National Arena League a couple of days ago before the kickoff of this past weekend about a certain quarterback and about how a certain team was trying to hold back this certain quarterback announcement. I'll tell you a fact. I knew about Mason's return a week to 2 weeks, almost 2.5 weeks before it actually happened. But because of the respect I have for the Columbus organization, because of the respect I have for Mason Espinoza, and for the respect I have for everyone who's involved in that industry over there in Columbus, I wasn't going to spoil the signing because there's a lot of people out there that get mad. It's like, why is Espinosa on the roster? What's going on? He was inactive. He was always on the roster. So technically the NAL doesn't have to announce that he's back. B, he was always on the inactive roster. Therefore, he was just a person that wasn't dressed. So he could have came onto the roster and play any moment at any time during the season. As you know, he is the offensive coordinator of DePaul University, or DePaul. You may correct me on this, but decided to come down here for summer. Recruiting has kind of calmed down. As you know, college football season, we're getting close to that dead period in recruiting because the season's right around the corner. I think right when camps start, I mean, maybe 2 weeks from now, recruiting stops in D1. I know that, I don't know how it is in DePaul, but I guarantee it's similar rules. But there were also some free agent acquisitions last week that people said, this is unfair. Why is this happening? Teams do this every year. Well, this week 13 of the National Arena League, after this, you cannot sign any off-street free agents from other leagues. That is it. The signing period ends. The only way you can get additional players is if you have injuries or if there's injuries or suspensions somewhere, but you cannot sign free agents outside of this week. And that is not just pivotal for situations, but a lot of teams, it's the National Arena League, it's high rating football. It's been done like this for ages. This is not new. And I see a lot of people out there going, oh, Jim, this is BS. No, it's not BS because this is the way. Like the Mandalorian says, this is the way. It's been done like this all the time. But for time constraints, because I don't want to, project anything that's big that I may get in trouble with without Zach, hitting me on the say, hey, can't say that. What's happening this week when all the transactions occur in the National Arena League? There's going to be a lot of people on our web, on our Facebook, on our Twitter that are going to be, I can say, butthurt a little bit. But just to reassure you, this happened last year. People got mad about Albany signing all these players. And people got mad about how Orlando was signing all these players in the last week. It's how it happens. The reason why this, honestly, this is not a source, it's not connections, it's just my knowledge of knowing the Arena League for so long. In the AFL, it wasn't really big deal because they actually had an agreement by the player association that, hey, it can only have signings up to this week. NAL, they don't have a players association yet. So therefore the league can make its own guidelines. See, that's how we see these transitions of players from team to team or free agent signs all the way up to basically postseason. And a lot of people get mad. So this is BS. It's like, well, let's look at the team so far. The Jacksonville Sharks are a completely different team than week one than they are right now because they have free agent acquisition. Arvell Nelson and Mike Faithful as the backup quarterback, just key contributors. You look at the Albany Empire, there's a couple of guys there they've signed. They signed kickers that have kept their games in place. They've signed linebackers and D linemen that came in and filled the void from players that were suspended. You look at Orlando, they did the same thing. Arena teams do this all year long, but it only becomes an issue when it's 2 weeks before the season. I guarantee I'm getting a couple of coaches out there saying, Jim, you're praising it, preach it. Yes, I know. I guarantee I got a couple of coaches out there that are like, this should be the rule. The rule needs to be set for this. It's hard. It's very hard. It's like me talking about things outside of the National Arena League. Like I have a personal project that I'm starting with another co-host of mine. It's going to be a podcast about Florida State. This person is well respected in FSU. And I already know things about Florida State that I can't say out loud because technically, if I do say it, they'll say, no, it won't happen. But in this industry, in the arena game, there are no guidelines like there are in college football or like there is in the National Football League. There are no guidelines. There is just a set rule. The set rule is this season. So brace yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Be patient. Yes, the season's coming in. Playoffs are coming here in a couple of weeks. But there are going to be some extended signings this week that are going to make a lot of you get really mad. So I'm going to get on ahead of this here this morning and let you guys know that it's okay. Calm down. Everything's fine. Everything's okay. So without that, with those news, I just wanted, I just wanted to get this step of the horse. And remember, rumors are rumors. If people are claiming that they know something and they were the first to report on a rumor and don't actually identify the team or the city or the arena, they don't have anything. As stated by an anonymous NAL source. And also, be prepared for all the unique signings happening today or probably tomorrow. It's going to be very interesting. A lot of you out there may be very intrigued about some of the signings, and I guarantee a lot of you will reach out to us and say, why is this acceptable? Remember, it's the National Arena League. They have guidelines. They don't have a union yet. The union and other leagues set the standard when certain things or deadlines or whatever. But in the National Arena League, it's just this week, and it's the final week of signing free agents outside of the National Arena League. So let's get into some action. Should we go to the slacking that happened in Jacksonville, or should we talk about one of the best arena football games I have seen all year? Yes, let's do that first. Let's go to Columbus. That game this past week in Columbus, I hate to say it, probably if I did the rankings right now, that is the best arena football game I have seen all year. High action, high paced, back and forth action, and we saw Mason struggle early, then develop what he was last season, the MVP of the National Arena. This game was honestly for me like this is what Columbus should have looked like all season long if Mason was at the helm. But man, San Antonio, I was talking to a coach out there and on the phone a couple of days ago, and he even stated a great comment. He says San Antonio is this year's version of the Maine Mammoths, where they just ran out of time, and I completely agree with that. The San Antonio Gunslingers are by far still one of the hottest teams. They lost a close one against Columbus, but still they're one of the hottest teams in the National Arena League, and I can't take that away from them. And of course, if you look at that game this past week, it was an exciting back and forth affair what an arena football game should be. It was incredible. You had guys going out there showing out. Townsend, Mason Espinoza, Kent, Kylie Rashad. You had guys going off. Fortson with one-handed catch after one-handed catches. You had kickers nailing deuces in the Civic Center. You know how hard it is to kick deuces in the Civic Center? Just ask Peterson. Just ask Blanchard. Just ask Barber. Just ask the kickers, TC Stevens, to name a few, of how hard it is to kick in that arena. But overall, the game was, I think Zach may agree with me with this, it's the best game I've seen all year. Hands down, best game I've seen all year. Back and forth. Mason Espinoza, the return of the king, comes in there and leads the Lions to a big victory and gets that separation that doesn't eliminate San Antonio or doesn't eliminate Orlando, which I kind of messed up. I apologize, but technically, based on the games, we're on the very fine little string here. Orlando is still technically alive. San Antonio is officially eliminated, even though they have the same record. Only reason why is because Columbus, if they lose out or Orlando wins out, Orlando will have the tiebreaker over Columbus because they won 2 out of 3 games. That's how it happens. And if they tie, or excuse me, if Orlando wins, they win 2 out of 2, win the series. They'll take the tiebreaker. If it's split, it goes by point differential. Right now, Columbus has a better point differential than the Orlando Predators, and that will basically be the elimination of the Orlando Predators. But speaking of that last game, one thing I want to say is that the Columbus Lions, after what happened in Carolina, what I want to say about the Columbus Lions after that game in Carolina, they kind of, the mindset. Like I said, and like what me and Zach have said multiple times, we just can't count out a Jason Gibson squad, how he prepares, how he gets his team ready. And it's not surprising. It did not shock me one bit at how they came out this week and completely played to their best of their capability. And what was so good about this game this past week in Columbus is that you had both teams played the best football they played all season long. Both teams, best football played both all season long, and he's seen the top performances of the two. Only a 4-point differential, 5-point differential, 1 possession game, arena football like we love it. We got it. Unfortunately, the loss technically officially eliminates San Antonio from playoffs, like I mentioned just moments ago. And for Columbus, keeps them. Go figure, ladies and gentlemen. Columbus still has an outside shot of hosting home field advantage throughout the playoffs, including Jacksonville, including Albany, and including the Carolina Cobras. What a crazy final 2 weeks we're going to have here for a pivotal playoff stretch to end the season. Now, let's step back and look at another game from this past weekend. The Jacksonville Sharks hosted the Carolina Cobras in a game that was pivotal for Carolina. Carolina with a win would have wrapped up the number 1 overall seed in the National Arena League, and Jacksonville would have been on not life support, but they would have been put in the position where the next two games were going to be crucial, that they had to get everything situated and push forward. But with that, Jacksonville is key in this situation. What a performance by Arvell Nelson and the Jacksonville Sharks and the Shark Tank. Oh, almost 8,000 fans were in attendance. Almost 8,000 fans were in attendance for an epic game in the Shark Tank. Carolina, I don't know. It's like I've stated before, what Zach stated before multiple times. Malik Henry has those plays where he'll throw that bonehead play, and you'd be like, what's going on here? Carolina's offense was stopped 4 times against Jacksonville. Jacksonville's defense shut them down in the first half, and it was really not a competitive game at all. Jacksonville handed them a big L. Now, if we look at the overall outlook of the Jacksonville Sharks, they don't control their destiny, but they have everything in front of them. They win the next 2 games, and Albany loses 1 game to either to Orlando or to San Antonio. The Shark Tank is home field advantage. That's how crazy it's going to be. That's how crazy it is in the National Arena League. So, but if we will look back, usually you have guys like Arvell Nelson showing out like he did, but you didn't. You had Naquan Murray, who had a good first half, bummed ankle. He was out. The other guys like Rob Jones stepped up, but also Devin Wilson came back after his injury, which I told you guys last week was going to happen. He came back, and of course, Devin Wilson returned and acted like nothing happened. And Jacksonville took over the game, big stops after big stops after big stops, and capitalized it. And of course, when you start off the game with 2 deuces, everything goes good for a team when you're kicking deuces and the other team can't get in the end zone. But for Carolina, back to the drawing board, you still control your own fate. But the thing I saw in that game is penalties, turnovers, uncharacteristic mistakes by Carolina. Jacksonville did something to the Carolina Cobras that very few teams have done. Jacksonville's done it twice to them already this year. Albany did it 1 time, and San Antonio did. They flustered at the quarterback. Yes, this is another quarterback, Malik Henry, that was in the game that kind of got, out of constraints. I think Jacksonville knew his tendencies and went after his tendencies and capitalized on this. Happens in every coaching decision. I think Burley saw that and capitalized it. Jacksonville got a big win. They are 2 games above 500. They could kind of control their own fate, but at worst, they could be the 4 seed. At best, they can be 1st seed. That's what's amazing thing about the last 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen. All 4 teams can be the 1 seed or the 4 seed. Nothing changes. That's how hard it is. That's how hard it is to do things like this. But ladies and gentlemen, I know one thing is for certain. Football is incredible. Football is amazing. But one thing I got to say about the National Arena League so far, you thought the playoffs are going to be crazy? The next 2 weeks are going to be crazy. So Jacksonville with a big win, Carolina with a big win. But all that, I can't tell a lot because Zach's not here. I need more feedback. But anyways, big wins by Carolina, a big win by Columbus, big win by Jacksonville. Incredible outlook. Now let's see what week 13 brings us to the National Leagues. But coming up next here on the National Arena League's official podcast, Turf Talk with Darius, Prince of the Albany Empire. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Inside the Walls, and welcome to a segment called Turf Talk. It's usually on Thursdays, but hey, all 3 shows in one day. Alongside me is no other than multiple-time Ironman of the Week award winner, Darius Prince of the Albany Empire. Darius, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on.
So, Darius, let's get into it. Albany's clinched playoffs. You're already set. You're already chilling. Are you guys taking any breaks? He's like, that's it. We're just going to coast to the playoffs. Or are you guys really putting the floor pedal to the metal here, entering week 13 and week 14?
No, we're not letting off the gas, man. We're still trying to lock up the number 1 seed with 2 games left. We gotta win both games, and then we need Carolina to lose one of their next 2 games. So we're full tilt, man. Full tilt, trying to lock up that number 1 seed for the playoffs.
Speaking of the playoffs, number 1 seed, I think this is the latest ever in the National Arena League that all 4 teams that are in the playoffs right now still have a chance of being the number 1 overall seed. It's just amazing how different scenarios me and Zach were going over. I'm like, wow, it's crazy how everything is all. We had 12 weeks to decide who the top 4 are, and now we're like, well, we know who the top 4 are, but who's going to be the 1 and 2?
Right.
It's crazy because last year, you guys in Albany and Columbus blew out everybody. It was clearly you and Columbus, and that was it. It was no. Okay, Orlando did a little bit of excitement. Carolina got in the very end, but it was you and Columbus straight last season, and you showed it and won the championship. Speaking of that, winning the championship, now Albany, I think they've raised 3 banners from the old Firebird days, the old Empire, and last year's team. Speaking of that, Coach Manas, how is it his mentality just put on the team from that championship year last year to this season with wasn't as championship glory, had a couple stumbles this year. How has the adversity helped you guys, especially at this point after your second bye, not your first one?
I just think, like when you get hit with adversity like we did, we went through a 3-game losing streak. And coach just always believed in us. We just always came back and prepared, and games didn't go how we planned it. Some calls went against us, didn't go in our favor. We're gonna feel how we feel about that. For those who watch the game, know what happened. You know what I mean? But when you face adversity, man, and you got a tight group, the way we got a tight group, man, we just leaned on each other. We just told each other we're gonna get through this, man. The coaching staff believe in everybody in the locker room. They're gonna still put a game plan together, and we just gotta go out and execute it. So we got out of our little funk, man, and we're playing some really good football right now. So we just kind of got to keep riding this wave.
How is it as a receiver watching Sam Castro just involved from when he was basically thrown out there, I think week 2 or week 3 of this season, and developed into a quarterback that he is today?
Oh, man, it's a great thing to see. I mean, Sam has gotten better each and every week. The dude makes plays with his feet, man. He extends plays, and then, like I said, man, the kid's just been climbing uphill ever since he started. Went through some growing pains, but that's what you expect with a young quarterback. You know what I mean? Like we got his back, and we know that our success is going to ride on his arm. So you know what I mean? Like me and Sam watch a lot of film together. We sit down and we go over things. Me, him, and Coach Ware. We just come up with a nice little game plan going into the week, man. We just got to execute it. But man, it's been good, man. Seeing him get better each and every week, man. It really has been.
Well, speaking of Sam, one thing I've noticed, especially when he played in Jacksonville, I think week 3, he made a couple plays with his feet, and I'm like, holy crap! Like, no quarterback can do that just right off the cuff and start scrambling. And he threw a dart to you in the right corner of the end zone. And I was like, no one can catch us besides Prince because of where the ball placement was. And I've seen that from Sam as he's involved, because last year he played in Carolina. There's nothing like this. And it's not deja vu. It's like night and day from what he is today. And that just speaks to you and Antoine Grant, Wade, and Dangerfield, and all the players that have come through the offense this year in Albany, and how he's just progressed, especially with Warren Smith. And, of course, with Warren Smith, you had experience with him in Lehigh Valley a couple years ago. But overall, Sam and me are like, I think either Levesque has said this or I was the first one to say it, because it was basically a back and forth thing about calling him Supernova. But still, it's great to see him just involved, especially his mobility. Like, it's how your offense is set up. Like, he knows if he makes mistakes, the defense is going to get your back. And overall, last couple of weeks, it's just his mobility has kept you guys in the game. And I'm amazed each week, like, oh, yeah, There's no doubt. Watch this be a bootleg for 14 yards, and there's Sam bootleg 14 yards for a touchdown. Like, I called it. I knew it was going to happen because of his ability. But speaking of you, Darius, your history in the arena game spans from the early ages of the NAL to the Philadelphia Skull. One of the most epic receiver cores I've ever seen. If people out there go look up the Philadelphia Soul from 2019, ouch. I was just gonna say that's a killer wide receiver core. And I guarantee you've heard it, and I've guaranteed a lot of people have seen it on the chats. People are like, I think a couple weeks ago, it's like, man, the Albany versus Carolina game, is this like deja vu Philadelphia Soul versus Jackson Sharks back in the old days? Because all the players are so similar from those two organizations. It's very unique. But speaking of your time in Lehigh and going to Albany, how is your journey, especially in the arena game itself, as it's evolved and as you've gotten to this point in time in the National Arena?
Man, my journey is still a surreal feeling to me, to be honest. Playing college basketball and never playing a lick of college football, and then getting introduced to this arena game that I knew nothing about. I knew nothing about indoor football, nothing about arena football. And, a good friend of mine's back home, the Roy Johnson, he was like, hey, Prince, man, you got to get into arena football. So when I got my chance, I really just been blessed, man, because I got a chance to play alongside of some great players in the arena football game. Like, you know what I mean? Warren Smith was my quarterback in Lehigh Valley. And then after Lehigh Valley, Clint Dozell brings me into the Philadelphia Soul. And I'm learning from SK. I'm learning from Darius Money Reynolds. I'm learning from Ryan McDaniels. Chris Duvall was there. Larry Beavers was there. You know what I mean? I'm learning from all these guys as a youngster. And I just took bits and pieces from each and every one of them. You know what I mean? And I just put it all together. And just playing in the system with Philadelphia, like you just had to be one of them type of guys. Like if you didn't have the smarts and if you couldn't pick up what Coach Dozell was laying down, you just couldn't be there. You just couldn't play there. You know what I mean? So you had to go out there, you just had to produce. And that's one of the things that I just always carried with me. Like when Dozell called your number, man, you had to make a play. Like, you know what I mean? like you really couldn't make many errors with that guy, man. And that's how I go. You know what I mean? So then going from Philly, then coming up here to playing against Albany, and then actually being here in Albany and playing here, you know what I mean? It's just a great feeling, man. And each and every season, I just try to go out and try to be better than I was last season. You know what I mean? The year before, I just always try to go out and just be a better teammate, be a better person, be a better player. And you know what I mean? Obviously, the end goal is to always win a championship. So, that's just how I go about it.
Well, speaking of last season, you had Malachi on the team and Phil Barnett on the team. And Malachi stole the show in the NAL championship game. And when the offseason hit, people say, oh, the big free agents, who's going to go where? And then Albany signs Antoine Grant and yourself. I've talked to some people outside the league, and there was rumors and talk about you wanting to play defense and offense. With the Ironman game in full swing, I've seen you in situations where you'll score a touchdown as a receiver, then the next possession when you're on defense, you're picking off a quarterback and running the back. How is this year's Ironman developed you as a player, and how unique is the Ironman to you as a player?
It really just helped me see the game from the other side of the ball, because I was used to playing one side, which was offense, and then now I actually have to watch. Like, so for example, we play Orlando this week. Now I have, instead of watching Orlando's offense, now I got to watch. Instead of watching their defense, now I got to watch their offense, because I got to watch how the receivers run their routes. Yeah, I got to pick up on certain things that the receivers do to give away what they're about, what type of route they're about to run. This is my first time playing Ironman. To be honest, I really wasn't a fan of it at first. I just didn't think it will work out. You know what I mean? But it is what it is, man. We started playing it, and I actually enjoyed it, because I always wanted to play defense, to be honest. You know what I mean? And even in high school, I started defense, and I was like the third string receiver. But I started cornerback in high school. And so I've always had a thing for defense. I always loved watching people, even in basketball. Like, I always guarded the best player on the floor, even though I know it's a different sport, but I just always loved defense. It just so happened that when I could catch the ball and I could make plays. But Iron Man is cool. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, everyone had adjustment, get used to it. I really think it's more of a strategy game between the coaches on how you're going to use your substitutions and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, obviously the players got to go out there and make the plays at the end of the day. But you know, it is what it is, man. And I just go out there and just try to prepare the best I can to get ready for the game each week.
Well, you're playing against the Orlando Predators this weekend. Former teammates on there, Lonnie Outlaw. We had him on the show a couple of months ago, and I'm not going to misquote him. He actually said this: Prince don't want that middle, and I think it's because he's calling you out. Say you come to him covering you. One thing I love about this game is that I've noticed that people who talk trash on each other in the league are actually really good friends because they played with each other with some other team. And I was like, oh, man, we got a little rivalry between Prince and Outlaw that I go look into. I'm like, this ain't no rivalry. They were teammates in freaking Philly. Like, this is just maybe just two buddies butting heads with each other. But overall, I've seen some incredible matchups. I've seen you cover Devin Wilson. I've seen you cover DJ Myers. I've seen you cover Lonnie Outlaw down in Orlando. And it just makes me, as a fan of the arena game, go, these are just straight, like, massive athletes. Like, when the USFL had their draft a couple months ago, and I was like, I didn't see any one arena football guy on there. I was like, man, these people are overlooking the great talent that is in this league. And you're one of them. It's like, I would have thought you would have been on one of the Birmingham teams or whatever. I forgot how many teams there are in the old USFL, but you, Antwain, Devin, I thought you guys would go because you're talented enough. And this Iron Man game is just proven you're a great receiver, or Devin Wilson's a great receiver, or Outlaw's a great receiver. It's also proven that you guys can play the other side of the ball. And that's unique, just not for the outdoor game. It's also unique for NFL scouts that may come to a game. It's like, hey, we want to bring you to this team. See, try out. It's all like we talked to Devin Wilson a couple weeks ago. He even said we all were looking for that one call for a tryout at a camp so they get showed out and basically get signed by an NFL team. Because that's all your goals, dreams, all your players' dreams is play in the NFL on Sundays. But for you, as a player of Albany, 2 weeks left of the season. Throwing all the awards out. I know there's people like, I'm going to be the MVP. I'm going to win the Iron Man of the Year award. The goal right now is to win the playoffs. Everyone's in the playoffs, win the championship. As you as a player and as the Albany Empire, I know you guys don't, there's scoreboard watching. People do. Coaches was like, well, we're not scoreboard watching. You look at the sideline. They're looking at the scoreboard, seeing what's going on in other games. What is you guys at Albany, you guys are trying to get the number 1 seed or number 2, at least be home field. Is there any matchup you'd rather have in the first round of the playoffs, or you just want to play whoever shows up on that game, or if you guys happen to travel too? Is there anyone who you want to play probably first, or players he's like,
Right. Like I said before, right now we're just taking care of the number 1 seed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're just taking care of the last 2 games of the regular season. With hopes of getting the number 1 seed. Besides that, man, I mean, we done played against everybody in the league a few times already. You know, when it all comes down to it, whenever your rankings come out 1 through 4, and 1 got to play 4 and 2 got to play 3, however that matches up is just how it matches up. Obviously, we would like to be at home, you know, but you know, we just got to take care of our business, control what we can on our end. And, you know, wherever the chips fall after that, man, we just got to buckle up and play. It's not going to be easy. As you can see, I mean, San Antonio, they made a nice little run towards the end of the season. You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, they got it. You know, they're eliminated now, but you know, it just took them a little while and adjusting to get to, and they started clicking. You know what I mean? They started to put up the most points. They started to put up the most points in the league for a couple weeks.
Last week's game against Columbus was incredible. Like that was an awesome game. If you're a arena football fan and you watch that game, you're like, wow, this is an incredible game, back and forth. That's just like I was talking to another coach in the NAL this week, and he literally stated to me saying that San Antonio is this year's version of the Maine Mammoths, where they just caught on fire way too late and they just ran out of the games for them actually get in the postseason. That's a good comparison, because that Maine Mammoths team back in that second half, they were the best team in the league, and they just ran out of the games. Because of the heartbreaking loss like San Antonio did. Like, they gave you guys a challenge last game in San Antonio, and a couple weeks ago they pull off the upset. But still, that was just they are just Shaw, Kylie Rashad, Philip Barnett, Robert Kent. That team is day and night different from when they were week one. I just give all the props to San Antonio. Like that organization's
No,
day and night.
Hats off to San Antonio for sure. And that's just what I'm saying. Like it really don't matter who the matchup's going to be. I mean, once you get you don't know how this game's going to go with the Iron Man rules and all this stuff like that. So especially once you get in the playoffs, man, you just got to be the best team for 2 games. That's it. You know what I mean? And everybody's going to give you their all once you get into the playoffs. Like, you know what I mean? So, you know, we're not looking for any particular matchup. You know, obviously, like I said, we just want to be home. You know what I mean? If we can at least host one round of the playoffs home, you know what I mean? We would like that instead of going on the road for 2 games. But, you know, like I said, man, we just control what we can on our end. And, you know, just ride out. Once the playoffs come, man, we just got to make the best of it.
That's what great John Madden said. It's not how you get in; it's how you win when you're in. And
absolutely,
that he said that when he was a Raiders head coach. I'm like, well, that's still true. Even though he's made some dumb comments like the winner scores the most points. Really, John Madden? Did not know that. But anyways, Darius, where can the fans find you on social media? How they get a hold of you to spread your brand? Because in the arena game, it's all about brand and imaging.
Okay, yeah. So my Facebook is just my first and last name, Darius Prince, Darius Prince, Prince. DP. Those are the 3 social medias I use. I really don't use Twitter that much, but I'm on Instagram and Facebook all the time, man. So, you know, friend requests come through, I accept them. Anytime a fan inbox me, I do my best to inbox them back, you know, but yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Can you repeat your Instagram and Twitter? You kind of broke up a little bit, but we got your Facebook.
Okay. So DP. So first initial, last initial, _ the GOAT, THEGOAT. And that's Instagram and Twitter.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Darius Prince, wide receiver, DB of the Albany Empire, multiple Iron Man of the Week award winners. And thank you, Darius, for joining us today. Short version of Turf Talk here on Inside the Walls podcast. And for the fans out there listening to us, coming up next is the final walkthrough previewing Week 13 of the National. Back, ladies and gentlemen, to the final walkthrough, 3rd segment of today's podcast. I am Jim Renier, the host of Inside the Walls podcast. Alongside me is my partner. No, he's not here. He in Ireland getting drunk on Guinness. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, Zach will be back next week as we break down the final week of action of the National Marine League. The season has come to an end here in a couple of weeks, honestly. But let's break it down. I'm not going to do power rankings because power rankings are all about elaboration, all about questions, all about, this happened because this happened. It's the arena game. Everything's getting chaotic. Everything's going to get different. Everything's going to change because the season is coming to an end. I'm not going to touch on the power rankings. Just not. My partner Crime's not here. And I need him here for the back and forth. But anyways, let's get into this week's games because that's what you're here for. You're here for what I think will win this week's games. 3 pivotal matchups. All of them have a bunch of, you can say, not just questions of how each team can make the playoffs, but unique situations of how teams can clinch postseason positions or where they're at. Because most likely there's 4 teams that are technically in. There's technically 5 still open, but Orlando's on the very fine line of being eliminated, but all the other 4 teams are technically kind of in. But let's get into it. Let's start in Albany. 3 keys of the game in Albany, where the Albany Empire hosts the Orlando Predators. Albany, Sam Castronova, do your thing. Play like you did in San Antonio a couple of weeks ago, and you win this game comfortably. For Albany's sake, keep distributing the ball equally through all your receivers. Don't be targeted on Darius Prince. Darius Prince is a beast. We all know that. But when teams started figuring out that, oh, we can take Darius Prince and let him do all of his things and take everyone else out of the game, we beat Albany. Albany, stick to that game plan. Keep giving the ball to all the receivers. Opens up the offense, makes your team more explosive. Third option, get the deuces. You're home. When you play at home, you kick in the deuces. You're always kicking. Road games, not so much, but different venues, different situations. You don't know how it's going to equal out and happen. Get the deuces. For San Antonio, bring the same mentality. For Orlando, the season seems like it's on the tips. I don't know what's going on. For Orlando, you just got beat by Jacksonville back-to-back weeks. You're trying to find yourself. You have Parsons trying to find himself. A lot of questions, a lot of intriguing matchups. For Orlando, key to the game, become spoiler. Do what a lot of teams that are out of the playoffs do or about to be out of the playoffs, as spoil someone's celebration a little early. And a loss for Albany opens up the gate for all the other teams that are involved in the playoff picture to capture that home field. But it's going to be unique. Now that Parsons been there for a couple of weeks, now we know what's going on. Does he build up that chemistry with the receivers? Does Beavers get more developed? Does the team start to find themselves? Does Williams become more explosive? Does Orlando find a way to make enough plays and win this game? The keys of the game of that is for Orlando is just be the upset, be the spoiler that you can be, and shock. Basically, not really shock the world, but you can shock the NEL community. Can you do that? It's unique. But who would I think? I don't think the upset of the week happens in this game. I just don't. I like Albany Empire to take care of business against the Orlando Predators here in the MVP arena, and I think this is going to be one of the pretty handled game. Orlando's traveling up to Albany. It's going to be a long road trip, and I think Albany takes care of business. And basically, hasn't clinched a home playoff game, but they put a stranglehold on that home playoff game. Position. I like the Albany Empire in that game. Let's go into another crucial matchup in San Antonio, where the San Antonio Gunslingers are hosting the Jacksonville Sharks. For Jacksonville, it's simple. You win out. With Albany losing one game, you're the number one seed. You kind of control your own destiny, kind of. But you need Albany to lose one game. If Albany doesn't lose the one game, you're not getting the one seed. And the reason why you went out, well, you beat Carolina again, so you technically would be tied, and you will have the tiebreaker over them winning 3 out of the last 3 and 4 games over them. It's very unique. But in this game, San Antonio is the hottest team in the league, same as Jacksonville. Jacksonville has won 7 of the last 9 games, has pretty handily won some crucial matchups, struggled against Orlando, but dominated Carolina. Keys to the game for San Antonio. Bring the same mentality like you did last week in Columbus and execute 100%. Same mentality. Do not play like you're behind. You didn't play like you're behind against Columbus, and you went toe-to-toe with them at the very end. You played toe-to-toe with everybody. You played toe-to-toe with Jacksonville a couple of weeks ago. You're home. I think it's military appreciation or fan appreciation game in San Antonio. I expect a big crowd again. John Wayne Company has done a great job promoting that team, promoting that city, promoting you, the fans, to get more content for the San Antonio Gunslingers. For Jacksonville and for San Antonio, I don't know how I say this, but I think we're going to have a similar picture in Jacksonville. Remember the game that happened a couple weeks ago? I do think that's going to happen again. I think San Antonio and Jacksonville are similar teams. They're the 2 hottest teams in the league. San Antonio is just running out of games, like me and Darius talked about, what I mentioned earlier in the show. But Robert Kent, oppressive. I don't know. I hate saying that San Antonio is going to lose this game because I really do like them. They've really impressed me. But for Jacksonville, I think they just found a new itch. They got Devin Wilson back. Arvell Nelson is there. Jacksonville, I think, is one of those teams where you look at right now in the National Arena League, they're the team to beat. They're on fire. They have taken care of a lot of business, and it's going to be a unique situation as it progresses. This week is going to be a pivotal game in San Antonio, and most likely I'll be doing a live stream during these games because a couple of the games are playing at the same time, so I'll be interacting with the fans. Do I see San Antonio pulling off the upset in this game? I do not. I do not see San Antonio pulling off an upset in this game. I think it's going to be one of those close games. I think it's going to be another one of those exciting final possession, last drive kind of football games where the San Antonio Gunslingers fall short. And again, a very excellent season for the San Antonio Gunslingers. I think Jacksonville has a lot more to play for right now with the season. Basically, with the number 1 seed for grabs, they're going to go after it and they're going to try to get it. I will elaborate more with this for San Antonio. I love what you guys are doing. Great season. I'm looking forward to the next season and looking forward to how this organization improves over the next couple of years. And I appreciate the guys there of the Smoking Guns podcast. You guys have done a great job promoting the team, especially John Wayne Group. I just think that the San Antonio Gunslingers in this game just run out of the gas again against Jacksonville. And Jacksonville, like I've said multiple times this week, you're not going to stop Jacksonville. You got to outscore Jacksonville. That's how you beat Jacksonville. Their offense is very potent. Arvell Nelson is clearly one of the better quarterbacks in the National Arena League. Same as Robert Kent. Robert Kent's having a hell of a season. And, of course, you look at the receivers on both sides of the field. These two teams are loaded. This team see, my voice is coming back. I told you I was recovering from something. My voice is going away again. But overall, I think San Antonio is a good team, a solid team. They're like what I stated before. They're like the Maine Mammoths from 2017. They're just running out of gas, and they ran out of time. And I think Jacksonville wins this game, close game, 1-possession game. But I think Jacksonville pulls off this game to get a crucial game against Carolina next week. That could be the determination of who wins, at least who wins the number 1. Not really number 1 seed, but who wins the home field. Because there's a couple of seeds that are pivotal. That happens in week 14. Jacksonville can be as worse as 4 seed. It can be as the best of 1 seed. Like I said earlier in the episode, all 4 teams have a chance to be the number 1 seed. Let's get to the final game of this episode. Final game of the week of week 13. The Columbus Lions go back to the Carolina Cobras. This game is going to be unique to a situation where Mason Espinosa is coming in with Columbus, so the Columbus is a new attitude going against a Carolina team that just got beat up pretty badly against the Jacksonville Sharks. It's unique. It's a unique game. What do I think is going to happen? There's a couple of things that are happening behind the scenes that I have to say that Carolina wins this game. It may be announced when this show is out, maybe out later today. I'm going to just say Carolina is going to find a way with a very experienced organization, with a very experienced receivers and a very experienced weapons, will win this game. I think this is going to be an interesting back and forth shoot 'em out game between Mason Espinosa and the Columbus Lions. I think that game is going to be pivotal. I want to more elaborate on what's going on, but I don't want to say anything. But I do like Carolina's game. I don't think Carolina's going to give up the 1 seed this easy right off the bat. This is going to be a clutch game. It's going to be one of the most exciting games of the season. I could elaborate more. I look at Columbus. I mentioned earlier in the episode how Columbus has played. That was the best game they played all year, back and forth action. Bring that same mentality to Carolina. You're going to have the same mentality, same exciting game. I just want to say the game in Carolina, fans keep an eye on that game. It's going to be unique. It's going to be crazy. And a lot of National Arena League fans, especially arena football fans, will really enjoy it because of the uniqueness of the game. I just want to say my prediction of this game is Carolina. I think the hype is real in Carolina, and I just can't wait for you fans to know. That's why I'm going to pick the game. The keys of the game situation of this is easy for Carolina. Get your act straight. You've been the best team all year. Couple stumbling blocks. Now the adversary, the pressure's on you. Capitalize. I think they do it for Columbus. Bring that mentality over from last week, and you will be in a fighting chance to win this game. Possibly upset. This is the game where you might see the upset of the week. You might see Columbus go into Carolina and beat Carolina and shock the NAL world. Almost say shock the world, but listen, not a lot of people watch Arena Football League. But I like Carolina in this one. Very close game. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Inside the Walls. I do apologize for being such a delay. As you can see, my voice went away a little bit earlier. I've been fighting that all week, and I got it and built the mentality to do it and to give you the game. I wish Zach was here to do it with me because without him, it's pretty hard to do it. But remember, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, NationalArenaLeague.com/videos to follow all of our actions of the National Arena League and the official podcast of the National Arena League, your podcast, Inside the Walls. You have watched the final walkthrough, Turf Talk, and Wednesday Reborn, all in the same episode. Do apologize, Mother Nature and the sickness got to me. I really do apologize for not getting the content out for you guys in time. But for myself and Zach, before we leave, remember one thing. Anyone ready for some playoff football? The clock is ticking. We're 2 weeks away. I'm Jim Renier. I'm one of the hosts of the Inside the Walls podcast. And to my friend Zach in Ireland, be safe, travel safe. We'll see you next week. And for you NEL fans, I'll see you Saturday night for some live stream action of some arena football of the National Arena League. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Drive safe if you're listening to this in the morning time. And for you people that are listening to this as a podcast while you're jogging, do not jog towards a dog that's on the loose. Because that happened to me. Anyways, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jim Renier, and enjoy this week's action in the National Arena League. Zach will be back next week here at Inside the Walls podcast.